your number one community building show in the world. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. CST, live on Facebook and YouTube. Join us as we discuss pertinent issues that relates to you and I with your host, Alinko.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Senna, aka Alinko. You are listening to the only community building show in the world. We are glad that you made it to this episode. This afternoon, this evening, for some of you, for Chicagoans, and for, afternoon for some of you, we are going to be talking about the Diaspora Convo. So please bear with us as we try to get our systems going on here. We apologize for the late start in the show. Captain Mike will not be here, but we will try and get to our guests in a minute, introduce them, and get on with the show. Like I said, this is the only community building show in the world. We ask that you be part of it and make it very impactful. Our guests are ready. We'll try and get to them in a little bit. Please bear with us as we take this short break. When we come back, so for this evening, the Diaspora Convo Part 3 will continue. Again, this is your host, Senna, aka Alinko. We'll be right back. Sorry for the technical glitches. It's been a challenge this evening, but we've gotten used to it. Most shows and activities are done online today, and we understand. I mean, not today, but I mean in these days. And once you're dealing with online programs, there are bound to be some glitches here and there. We don't usually get them, but today happens to present a few challenges. We ask that you indulge with us this evening. We again want to extend a good, warm greetings to all our audience who have joined us this evening. Again, you're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Alinko. Today's topic is the Diaspora Convo Part 3. Wanted to greet all our audience and also encourage you to share the feed if you are watching us on Facebook and on YouTube. Again, you tune into the community building show. As we said, this segment is the third part of the conversation, which we call the Diaspora Convo on this platform. We have had very fruitful conversations in the past, two segments, and we know today's conversation will be nothing short of interesting. The term diaspora comes from an ancient Greek word meaning to scatter about. And that's exactly what the people of the diaspora do. The people of diaspora are scattered. They scatter from their homeland to places across the globe, spreading their culture as they go. In today's conversation, we are going to address issues such as the existence of different cultures among the diasporans, what the diasporans can do to enhance better relationships, as well as addressing some of the stereotypes amongst the Black community in the diaspora. And when we say diasporans, and in this context, we are referring to Afro diasporans, African diasporans, Black diasporans. Some would call it different names. Before we delve into the conversation, I'd like to introduce my guests who are here. We have on today's episode, Christian STRACHAN. He is the MD for SA4 Acts. We will let him tell us what that stands for. VANI HONA, who is on the show, but having a few technical glitch. We will see if we can get her in the studio. We also have ARTURO CAMBRON. ARTURO CAMBRON is a community activist and artist in California. And then Mark Ampa is an IT security person with Catch Them Young Orphanage. And then last but not the least is MARVANNA Avery, who's an actress and a theater arts instructor. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce let me present to you our guest this evening. Arturo, you're not a stranger on the show. We humbly welcome you to the platform once again.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here once again.
My pleasure. Interesting conversation we're looking forward to. MARVANNA, if you can hear me, you're welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening.
Awesome. And then Mark, can you hear me now? Okay, Mark. Okay, it's still a little bit of issue there. We can't hear you, Mark. I know it's a challenge tonight. Chris, can you hear us? Okay.
So I can hear you. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, everybody.
Awesome. All right, so let's begin the conversation, guys. Arturo, let me start with you. You have more experience in this regard, and of course, per my knowledge of you during our last conversation, can you give us, briefly your perspective on when it comes to Afro diasporans in the United States? What has been, from your own opinion, when it comes to our relationships, our working together, when the relationship between Blacks in the diaspora? What has been your observation over the years?
I've been an activist since the late 60s. And I think it's been essential from my experience that we've learned so much from each other, especially the Chicano community, which is the community that I identify with. Mm-hmm. Nothing in my life has happened without a coalition of our two communities. Anything that is impactful, that has impacted our communities, has always been in coalition. Mm-hmm. So I think it has. It's vital.
Thank you. Let me get from your opinion, MARVANNA. What do you think from your opinion and from your observation has been the relationship among Black diasporans, African diasporans, Afro diasporans in the United States? You live in Chicago, so we can limit you to Chicago.
What has been the relationship is the question, right?
Your observation when it comes to the relationships among fellow blacks. Okay.
I would say at large, there's a lot of unity. There's a great understanding of just being proud of where we come from, working hard, and just making sure that, we have equal opportunity and that, the world and our communities know that a lot of great things, if not all, just descend from many great things and sacrifices that our ancestors have done.
Okay. Thank you. And again, I need you to step back a little bit so we can, good. This is awesome. Yes, I like that. Chris, let me ask you same question. Again, from your observation, it looks like we have a caller on the line. Let's see if the caller may I know, can you tell us your name and where you're calling from? Okay, we've started the show, so you may want to, if you may want to call a little bit later during our conversation. Okay. All right, that was somebody trying to call into the show, but I granted the courtesy. We haven't opened the phone lines yet, but I kind of have an idea who's calling. But so please feel free to call in later on in the show. But Chris, same question to you. Your observation when it comes to the relationship between fellow blacks in Chicago, at least. All right. Okay, looks like Chris' feed is delaying. Vani, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, Vani, you've lived in Chicago for some time. If you look at African Americans, Caribbeans, Africans, you think, from your observation, do you think that, and Latinos, do you think that we have, what's your observation when it comes to our relationship, the way we deal with each other, the way we relate to each other?
I feel like, for me, since I've been here, like, I think Africans relate to each other. They put Black America a little bit aside for me. Okay. That's my perspective of view. I always feel Africans always try to come together. They don't like to bring too much Black American to our stuff and stuff like that. Yeah. And I feel like it's wrong. We need to be.
I need you to step back. We can't see your face, so if you can step back a little bit, Vani. There you go. Yeah, now we can see you. Yes, please go ahead.
I feel like it's two different things. Like I'm from Cameroon. We're relating a lot with Nigerian, Congolese, and stuff like that. We don't have too much relationship with African American that are born here, Okay. And then with Spanish, it's just we don't even have a relationship with Spanish people too, because I feel like we African people think that we are so more good than Black American than this, and I understand the part of view of African because they feel like I feel like they feel like they know better the culture, and sometimes even me, from my experience, the first time I came here, I try to come close to Black American, they reject me, and like I wanted to show them my culture and stuff like that. It was totally two different things. That's why I feel like we need to change it. African and Black American need to come together.
Okay. Thank you for your point. At least you established that you establish what you establish, which is, you try to work with them. They don't try to work with you because we see each other differently. So thank you so much for your observation and letting us know. Chris, can you hear me now? Okay, looks like Chris' feed is still delayed. Mark? We can, but you sound very far away. Okay, we will still trying to work on it.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
You got okay.
Yes.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Yes, good evening.
Well, I think the keenest observation I can tell, being a Jamaican immigrant to the U.S., is financially we're not tied together. We'll see each other at festivals. We'll have a periphery conversations, adoption of music and the like, but the bonds don't go deeper as you see some other diaspora ties.
Okay. Thanks for your sharing your observation, Chris, even though we lost you at your last sentence. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I said the bonds don't go deeper than some of the periphery ties, where we go to some of the same concerts, the music festivals, the food festivals. But when it comes time for us to have strong, permanent economic, financial relationships, that's where there's a huge dearth throughout the diaspora. And it's a shame because most of the economy in the diaspora, from African diaspora in particular, from the Americas through Europe, they help keep a number of these countries and these nations, especially Caribbean nations, afloat with remittances. Monies that we're sending back home to our kinship groups, our families. And if some of those dollars, like it's over almost $1.5 million that's sent back from family and friends of Jamaica that send money back a year. And if only a portion of that could be used for development, for investment and reinvestment, imagine what would be mobilized with those dollars and those amounts. Right. So unfortunately, within the African diaspora, I do see the linkages, I do see the love that's there, but not the permanency of stable financial and economic ties.
Powerfully shared. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Mark, how is it going?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, we got you now. So I don't know if you heard the earlier question. If Mark, okay, let's step back a little bit. I want to know if can you hear me now, Mark? Arturo, let's get to know your background. We'll start with Arturo. We want to know the background of our guests, what they like to do, what they like to engage in, the country of origin. Right? The country of origin. All right, Arturo, go ahead.
I didn't get the last part of your sentence, but a little background on me.
Just tell us who you are, what you do, and okay, again, your country of origin.
Sure. I was born in Mexico, and I was brought over to this country when I was 3 years old, and so I went through kindergarten through university here in the U.S. I grew up in East Los Angeles, which is kind of like the Harlem to the Black community. East Los Angeles is to the Chicano-Mexican community here. I got involved socially and politically in the late 60s through the Chicano student movement. And I've been involved in various political struggles ever since. So 43 years later, here I am, and I'm still doing that. I also have a passion for art. Most of the art that I make is connected to the issues that are important to me. And they vary throughout, my life. And so I always see my art as being part of the communication of the issues and trying to always bring them to a broader audience.
Awesome. I see you have behind you is this picture that says "Abolish Prison." Tell us the significance of that. What is that?
It's one of the, I participate in this community center. It's one of a variety of issues that are important to our community. And obviously we're dealing with the issue of police brutality. And so, and this is something I think that is important to bring out, that this is a subject, an area that affects both the Black and the brown community. The incarceration rates, the brutality that exists, the the lack of overseeing the police activities. And so this is something that our community right here is heavily involved with.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us a background of who Arturo is. Now we have a fair understanding of where you're coming from.
Thank you.
And the remarks, I think, of course, your background affects your influences, your remarks, and the way you see life, the way you see things, the way you observe the relationship between the African diasporans. MARVANNA, you want to share a little bit about, what you do, who you are? I mean, your profession, if you want, family, all of that. Yeah, just a brief description of who you are.
Okay, sure. I was born and raised in Chicago. Between both of my families, my mom's family from the South, some of my dad's family from the Caribbean. But I grew up in a very Afrocentric home. Seeing, beautiful images of Black people that look like me, there was always a great, understanding the importance for me to just know where I came from, but also know about, other cultures. I have always been a performer, creator. I have a lot of artists and educators in my family. I've been acting over 15, 20 years. I teach it. I've worked with a lot of great performing institutions in Chicago. I've written professionally. In Chicago, I've been really connected with just how Chicago, one, is a great place, I feel, to really learn about culture. I grew up going to a lot of museums, so it was great to just see our stories represented in cultural institutions like museums, and also what wasn't there. A lot of people don't know that the DuSable Museum is right on the South Side, and it's the only museum that celebrates Black history in Chicago. So I think it's great to know that places like that exist. I love attending a lot of things that just support, us in Chicago, and telling people that maybe not are from here, you can live right on the South Side and learn a lot of great things and not go to a museum. There's history in Chicago that really celebrates, who we are. I love to sometimes go to different festivals like the Ghana Festival, the Igbo Festival. And Chicago's gotten great over the years with celebrating Caribbean and other festivals. But, as someone was mentioning earlier, I too would love to see more deeper, long-lasting connections amongst us.
Okay.
No matter where we're from. Because I think it's important not only for us, but for the legacy of our children and our families.
Awesome.
So, this year I just started learning Yoruba, which has been great. And I have goals to build my platform in West Africa, and really take what I am great at and build specifically in the film and entertainment industry and education. I think it's important share those skills.
Yeah, no, thank you. I wanted you to give us thank you for giving us a good background of who you are and what you represent. But we would dive into some of the things that you just mentioned, which are very, very important. We'll dive into it in a little bit. Mark, again,
Yes.
briefly, who is Mark? APAH.
Well, Mark APAH is from Ghana. I would say from the Quill region in Ghana.
Okay. All right.
Right. So basically, I came here when I was very young, and I had to get adapted to the culture of African American. I came. I was in Jersey. Was the first place that I lived before moving over here to Virginia, and with that case, at the beginning, I found it very challenging, as adapting to the culture of African American, due to their food, the language, and the entertainment industry. But as time goes on, I was able to settle in, with this type of culture. But there are things that I find very common within us. Is mostly religion. Religion very common. The African American culture has based on their culture mostly on religion.
Okay,
And
so
I would say
no, thank you. It's interesting where you're going already. You and MARVANNA. Okay, we will go, and I like that because that's what I want to do. We want to be able to sieve out our differences and what ties us together and how we can move forward. But I wanted people to know where you're coming from, who you are, and thank you for sharing that you're from Ghana. You live here. You are into IT. Is that correct?
Yes. So yes, I'm into IT. Working for Gold Belt. That's the company I work for, and also with the organization that I'm in it as well.
Okay.
Catch them orphanage as well. That's an organization that I wanted to help and grow for everyone to have an opportunity, to become successful, basically.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Chris, can you still hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Chris, I know your time is very limited. So thank you for sharing your observation regarding our relationship, the Afro-diaspora relationship. But from what Chris just, no, not Chris, Mark just said, I'm sure you've heard of some of the stereotypes. If you have, what do you think there are there? And can you help audience understand the myth behind these stereotypes, like why we have these stereotypes and how we can move forward? Again, based off your limited time with us, can you identify some of these if you've heard? If you haven't, that's fine. We'll move on to the next person.
And if I understand right, you're talking about types of that within the African diaspora with each other.
Yes.
If you're talking about, and you stereotypes that stand as barriers between us communicating effectively and collaborating effectively. The only way to break down those barriers is for us to take steps, as we all know, and actively. We need more context. So shows like these, and to your credit, thank you for having shows like these. We need to get it more out on social media, that platforms like this exist. I think it's just not a matter of willingness. It's just simply a matter of getting the right channels and the voice out to let people be able to learn more. Because I think in this whole woke culture right now that people are experiencing, it just that there's a thirst for knowledge, drive to learn more. So areas such as yokes, mindless views and generalizations, I think those are easy to tackle with just enough hits for people to get more involved. So shows like these, I'll definitely be spreading the word and promoting word of the show and just getting the word out more so that we have conversations like these, in my humble opinion.
I appreciate it. Do you, and anytime we have this conversation, I always try to ask my panel, do you know of the African American culture? Or let me rephrase it. Do you believe that the African American have a culture? The reason why I ask is that as Africans, as an African, we believe that we have a culture because we're coming from one. We lived, then when we come here, we have to adapt to other cultures, just like Mark was saying. As a Caribbean, I know that it's the same vibe. So when we come here, our fellow blacks who are already here, African Americans, do we identify their culture as their culture? And so I like to know from everybody. So do you think they have a culture? Okay,
yeah. I think MARVANNA, if you've got some to say, I'll.
Okay, yeah, I'll just jump in. I wasn't sure who was going first. To answer your question, I do feel that black people in America have a culture. I think that if you really meet, black people here that really are in tune with themselves and, you know, African American life, you'll definitely meet Black people. And I also think that the Black culture is separate from the white American culture in America. That I sometimes think that if you get lost in different experiences and stereotypes, you might, coming from another country or city, you might confuse, you know, what you might perceive as Black American culture with the American Western culture here. And there are some Black people and other races of people that kind of blend into the American culture. But if you meet, you know, really legit Black people, I think that you'll get a different perspective.
Okay. As an African American, you know, partly, you know, I know you have a lineage from the Caribbean, but if we say African American culture, what does it entail? What can we identify and say, okay, this is what this group of people created for themselves, and that is what constitutes their culture.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say there's so many different inventions that we use every day that African American people have invented. There's structural things that we use in our cities as far as agriculture. There's things that were founded. There's food. You know, there's fashion and trends. There's a lot of things.
Okay. It's interesting. I mean, good you mentioned fashion and trends.
And also, not to cut you off, there's also movements and things that have changed our world that have been on the backs of Black people. And I definitely think that's a part of our culture.
Can you mention some of these movements that you're right?
Absolutely. I mean, not to also use Dr. King, but I mean, you know, just as far as like the movement of just standing up for things that are right. I mean, if you go back to Selma, a lot of those things. If you think about Ruby Bridges and integration in schools, that's a big thing that, you know, started from a little girl.
Yeah, no, powerful. And again, thanks for sharing. Trends, fashion. We always talk about pop culture.
Music, also, you know, Black music is
everywhere. I mean,
everywhere.
Pop culture, you know, pop culture. I mean, there's no part of this continent that, you know, there is no part of this continent with with artists who are into artists who are into entertainment who would want to replicate the African American culture or pop culture. And essentially we see it everywhere. If you go to Asia, if you go to Africa, if you go to Europe, almost every pop artist or anybody that's into entertainment mostly, that you would see a direct copy of the African American culture. Arturo, would you agree? Would you attest to this? I mean, what would you say to what we've shared so far regarding?
I would like to address, like, in what the impact it has been in the Latino community. You know, when we talk about Latin music, and it's very broad because Latin America includes so many countries. But if you include the typical music that has come out in the different parts of the continent, the great majority is based on African music and the African influence. Whether you go to the cumbia from Colombia in the northern part, from samba, if you go even in Mexico, this is something that I would like to share with you. The bolero, for example, I grew up thinking the bolero, which is like a soft romantic with a melodic backbeat. I thought it was Mexican. I thought the music came from Mexico, and it was Mexico who exported it to other countries. When I started doing research on the music itself, I found that it's really came from Cuba, from Black Cubans who had an exchange of music with the people of Veracruz in Mexico. And they brought the bolero over, and then Mexico gave it nuances, as other countries have done with other types of music. But if we really understand it, really Latin music is derived from African rhythms and so forth. Like I said, every country that you go for, you're going to find that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Wanted to, Chris, can you hear us good now? Okay. Vani, you started off by saying that saying what you said regarding our differences, how you try to go to the African American community, they don't seem to gel with you or connect with you, and vice versa. When, as an African, we know that we have a culture, right, based off the food we eat, the thing where we do things, right? Do you, when you look at the African American culture, community, or the African American people, when you think that they have a culture?
For my opinion, I can say no.
Okay, good. And okay, so you're from Cameroon, and Cameroon is both francophones and anglophones.
Yes.
So you speak more French than?
Yeah, I speak more French. It's here when
and
I came here. That's why I learned English much more.
Okay.
But I speak more French. Yes.
Okay. So within Cameroon itself, you think that the French people look at the English differently and vice versa?
That's true. We
Okay.
look in Africa, we, like in my country, we have so many different culture, and we look at each other as so different. We always think that this community is better than this community.
Okay. Right. So good. And so when you come here to the States, it's not difficult for you to not see a culture for a community, for a group of people, which is African Americans, because we already have the tendency of identifying, of not, recognizing each other as Africans based off our ethnic groups, our ethnicity, and our tribes. So thanks for sharing. So
you're welcome.
And you gave me an emphatic answer. You said no, you don't think that African Americans have a culture. Why do you think so?
For me, I think so. I think they're still trying to find their culture.
Okay.
Because most of them already, they know that already the ancestors from Africa. But based on they've been here for a long time, they know Africa is so big. We have different culture. They don't really know which culture to adapt to. They're trying to be their own culture that some people really don't understand.
Right. So you're trying to be their own culture that you think that Africans don't understand. If you say some people,
no, not Africa, like in general, everybody don't gonna understand. They're trying to be their own specific culture.
Right. But if you say you can't speak for everybody because you don't know what others are thinking.
Okay, on my opinion, yes, on my opinion. You're right. You're right.
Chris, I know you wanted to chime in on that. Chris, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, I think there's a general misunderstanding between culture and history. And the history, I would say, in African Americans and African diaspora outside of Africa, history has been taken from us, where we don't have, records that show exactly here how we can start tracing back to quote unquote our roots. But I firmly disagree. African Americans as a whole and the African diaspora as a whole outside of Africa have extreme culture. The whole world is adopting African American culture. I mean African diaspora culture, from the Bob Marleys to the even the Jay-Z today. They are little African boys and girls that know the name B and love to try their baby. The rest of the baggy jeans, baseball caps to the side, rocking their musics, or even going into their forms of entertainment and genres, are all rocking African American culture. It is the most powerful and dominant culture on the planet as we speak. Make no mistake. Hip hop is just one symptom and offshoot of the African American culture. So I think when we talk about culture versus his history, a historical precedent and branding, where you can say, hey, we've got lineage, we've got stories and narratives, unbroken lines of stories. Sure, yeah. Unfortunately, because of the blight of slavery and the purposeful, intentional smattering of African American and African diaspora slaves throughout the Caribbean and all, broken the culture. Oh, the culture from the African diasporas, from the Caribbean to the Americas, is the most adopted in the world right now. Proof of that, Bob Marley is Time magazine's Man of the Century. You can look at any number of African Americans right anyone in the world, from Europe.
Man, Chris, you're making so much good. You're making so much sense. I wish your feed was better. Yeah, it's. Can you try your cell phone? See if it gets better, because you're making so much too many good points. I really want to get it to be clear enough for our audience and the guest. So maybe Chris would give it a shot and see if he can get him on. I was going to get Mark's point, but we lost him. Hopefully we can get him. MARVANNA, you heard VANI. And this is why we do this, okay? Because we have genuine misconceptions about each other, which is fine. This is not a forum to, but we really want to be able to air out how we feel about each other and see how we can repair our relationships. Because it's only when we are communicating and interacting is when we can know each other and know ourselves. So she made a point. I don't know if you had a comment to what VANI just said, MARVANNA.
I would say, I definitely feel that there are some people that when you meet them, they might appear lost or like they don't know who they are, but I definitely would disagree. There's a big separation between the lost history and the culture. I definitely feel that Black people have a culture. And I think that when you meet, when the intent, as Black people, when we meet and actually build these bonds in different ways that are deeper, I think when we have those conversations, we make friendships. I think that we'll begin to like really see where the other person is coming from.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it starts, because the magic, everything is there. I believe it's there.
Yeah.
I think that when we seek to really understand and experience, see it, because I'm just gonna speak from my personal experience. I mean, when I meet my African brothers and sisters, I mean, sometimes I've met people that are so shocked that like I know this and that, but they're like, I'm here to learn from you too. And there's different things that we can pull. And I also meet, I've met African people that have immigrated that like literally know nothing about great things that we should know as Black people that are here. So I think that sometimes maybe the system might be designed for us to like miss those missing links, and just making sure that we're getting outside of our bubbles. But also I think another thing which I would agree with my sister here, I think that sometimes by design, when we might feel like that, oh no, there's nothing that we can relate, or we might see stereotypes within our own communities amongst each other that may that kind of blocks out the good. We're not able to have those experiences,
right?
But I think there's more of the good than the bad.
That's more of the good than the bad. Thank you so much for sharing. Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mark, do you think that the African American have a culture? Now, I would like to get Chris too. Now, let's look at, there are Caribbeans here. There are fellow Blacks. Of course, we are Africans. There are Latinos. Do you when you look at the Latino community, do you think that they have a culture? Let me put it that way. Mark.
Oh, okay.
The Latino community. You identify them as these people. You identify a culture with the Latino community.
Right. I mean, I feel like personally, they have a culture, and also African American. Right. Okay.
Okay. Great. Good answer. How about the Caribbean? If you look at Belizeans, Haitians, Jamaicans here, do you think that they have a culture?
Yes.
Okay. How about the African Americans?
Yes.
You think so? All right.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you've now? I want to take you deeper. What are some of the things that you've identified with these groups that you will say, okay, these are the things I've seen, which which classify, which makes me identify them as the things that you observe that makes you believe that these are their culture.
Well, the things that I believe is mainly the way that they talk their language. That
Okay.
is a little different from each one of
Okay.
them.
All right.
Also, their food is different.
Okay. So let's start with the Latino people, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we identify them with the way the way they eat. I mean their food, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And some of their festivals and the way they do things. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
How about the
Yes.
Caribbeans?
Yeah. The Caribbean is also entertainment. They are
Okay.
morely about entertainment, right? And then also their food is different as well.
Your food, okay. And then of course your festivals, okay, awesome. And then when it comes to African Americans, what do you identify as activities that speaks to their culture?
Well, the activity that speaks to their culture is mainly black movements, an organization to better their community,
Awesome.
and right, yeah.
Okay. So movements, black movements, and so what you just said speaks to what MARVANNA mentioned, and I think that thank you all for sharing. Chris, can you hear us now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Good. As a person from the Caribbean community, and you mentioned that African Americans do have a culture, so I appreciate it. You think that is a general notion? I mean, you can easily say that because having spoken to you, you're very conscious. You think that it's a general notion of your community when it comes to the African American community?
No, I think it's I think it's honest what my fellow panelists were saying in terms of the perception that there is no culture, because
Yeah.
dominant culture has been saying
We're seeing you very far away. You seem very far away from your things.
Oh, okay. How's this? Is this better?
This is better. Yes, good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's to be expected. I mean, we've been told, we being the global audience has been told by the dominant patriarchy for how many decades that any kind of black or brown history or links they don't equate to anything.
Okay.
So I mean, even the horrific misinterpretations, lies, and untruths that have been told about Africa throughout Europe since the 1400s have been unbelievable. I mean, much less today. So it's no surprise that any of our African diaspora communities and cities are still plagued by these tropes that have been infused into the general society, much less purposely stamped into our own communities.
Yeah, and again, yes, great point. Arturo wanted to, hey, Vani, so thanks for sharing. Now, I'd like to take a moment to look at what culture is. So, by what website is this? But let me just read the definition that I got for culture. It says the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. If you look at this definition, it clearly indicates that we all have culture. If you're an African American, Caribbean, Latino, African, but I think the argument here, no, not the argument, but the notion here that in the diaspora, and at least in the city of Chicago, what I've observed is that a lot of us from other parts of the world, other blacks who have migrated here, would look at the African American community and wonder. Sometimes you wonder, is that their culture? Do they have a culture? And these are real-time conversations that we have. And my sister here, MARVANNA, VANI, mentioned it. You know, in her mind, they don't. And she's speaking to a lot of voices in the African community. And again, this is why we do these things. So we want to be able to establish, okay, some of these myths, perceptions, you know, and stereotypes that may not necessarily exist. But like you saying, Chris, we've been fed these type of information. And so when we have these conversations, it kind of clears the air, you know, what is and what does not. And so I think that you all have established already, for some of you who haven't, we want to know, we want to learn today, or we want to understand at least that we all have cultures, and all our cultures are important and they are integrated. And talking about integration, Arturo, can you walk us through how Africans, immigrant Africans coming from Africa, Africans in diaspora, African Americans and Caribbeans are interlinked to the Latino community culturally and historically? Can you help us with that, connection? Because I know you're a historian, you're good in this area. So if you can help us establish that connection.
Well, let me first explain, at least to me, what your question is in terms of what culture is. The way I see culture is that it's not a static thing. It's a constantly evolving thing. Awesome. And culture is highly impacted by the social political environment in which it exists. And so if we start looking, in my opinion, there is definitely a Black American culture. It's gotten its roots from the different areas of Africa, but it's adapted to the social political conditions that existed in the U.S. And so from gospel to the blues to rock and so forth, this is just an extension of its own history here in the U.S. I'd like to share something of how it impacted, something similar to this has impacted the culture of the Afro-Mexican. For example, once again, I grew up listening to all kinds of music and had no knowledge of the history of the impact of the Afro or the Mexican Africans in Mexico. I've always loved the music, jarocho music. I don't know if people are familiar with it, but it's a traditional music that is played in the Veracruz area of Mexico, which is the Caribbean side of Mexico. And it's a fusion of African rhythms, European instruments, and indigenous scratching instruments. It's very beautiful. I didn't know that until recently, but I found out that jarocho music is really at the core, it's African music that was played by the slaves in Mexico. And one of the things that the Spanish did in order to dominate and the slaves is to take away as much of the culture as possible. And so they prohibited the drums in their music. And so the Mexican slaves, the Black Mexican slaves, played music, but what they did is they learned these instruments, they would play this music. What they did is they put a platform where they would do the dancing. And so the dancers, while the musicians were playing, the dancers would go up and they stomp. And the stomping was actually the percussion section. And so when you go to these towns in Veracruz and when you see all this beautiful music coming alive, you'll see that nobody has drums, but all the dancers still do the percussion through their feet. And so this is an example of how you bring in music and culture and traditions, and it's impacted by the social political environment in which it is, but it flourishes. It finds a way to come out. And so I think this is something that why history is so important. The more we know, the more we can understand who we are today.
Yeah. Thank you. Really appreciate that, Arturo. You're watching the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Alinko, and we are talking about the diaspora. This is the third part of this type of conversation. we've had several ones in the past, but in recent times, I would say in the past 2 years, this is our third one. We occasionally engage in this manner on the platform, but then we take it to the ground. We create events that speak to what we are talking about. We create events that are basically extensions of what we are talking about here. And so this is what we believe we can do to enhance, build our communities, and basically entrench or foster a more harmonious relationship within the Black diaspora, Africa diaspora, Afro diaspora, because we see it in other communities, in other ethnic groups, and so why can't we? And I think that if we keep engaging in all manner of platforms, it will go along with our relationship. Chris, Mark, can you hear me now?
Yes, okay.
All right, so having heard what we've discussed so far, and you said that, of course, you identify the African American with their own culture, but you were saying something earlier before I interrupted you about how when you came here and how you struggled to integrate or work, have a relationship with the African American community. Okay, we lost Mark. VANI, you were talking about how you try to work with African Americans and the challenges that you were having. All right. Now, has it gotten any better? I mean, that was so many years ago. I don't know, but I'm assuming. Is the situation the same today? Are you still having challenges trying to, have a relationship with the African American, social relationship, not intimate or romantic? VANI, can you hear me? Okay, we're having challenges with VANI's feed as well. Today is the day. It's we've never had it like this. So, but it's all good. We're working through it, and I really want to thank my guests for being patient with us and our audience too. We really appreciate that. Chris, so we've come. We're doing this now to enhance our relationship. What do you think that would be the unforeseen challenges as we strive along? Of course, we'll be doing other events, but what do you see as the unforeseen challenges that would hinder, as in our efforts of trying to improve our relationship as Afro diasporans?
Bad actors.
Okay.
Getting burnt in the bad relationships.
Okay.
So we have to be careful about doing policing within our community with our relationships, because we have to make sure we watch out for the con men, the slicksters, the malcontents, all those that are not actively looking towards this common diaspora unity that you're talking about. So we just have to watch out for that self-sabotage.
Yeah, go ahead, VANI. Sorry, MARVANNA.
I was just gonna say, I've met, African immigrant people here that sometimes don't give the impression that they want to have a close relationship, unless it's like maybe business related, but they just kind of stick in their community. And I mean, these are like older people, so even like when I was in my early 20s, with that like really spirited desire to like do certain things. Not that I don't have it anymore, but I think that there should be more of an intergenerational approach for us to come together in our communities to restore traditions and, break things down without, other interferences, the government, because I think the media can be very detrimental, especially when, people in our communities are immigrating over here. They talk about that in movies where they say, oh, we'll give you these resources, but don't talk to this group, or don't talk to this group. So I think that if more intergenerational spaces were happening, I feel like we would really, heal and reestablish some things, because I think that, resources are there for us to really, do some things, but we can't if, we let these things kind of be terror walls around us.
Thank you for sharing. Vani, can you hear me? Okay, looks like stuck here. Mark.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, let's
Sorry.
try it again.
Okay.
So you said you were struggling to, relate with the African Americans because of their way, the way they did, because of their culture. That was, I don't know
Right.
if that was then, Perry, what you were saying. What is the relationship with you and the African American community now?
Well, now it's a little much better because I'm
Okay.
able to adapt to certain things within the culture.
Mhm.
But before, as I said, their food, like how in Ghana we we eat jollof, wache, fufu, and those sort of food compared to African American that eat a mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, collard greens and stuff was kind of different from how I was being raised and how I was used to eat. But as time goes on to now, I could adjust to eat both ways. I could eat the African way or I could eat the African American ways, but it took me some time and some years for me to adapt, to the culture of African American.
Thank you so much for sharing. Go ahead, MARVANNA.
I was just gonna say, it's great that you bring that point up about the food because I think that not enough like Sunday dinners or just experiences and environments where we can like really break bread happen. I think that Black food in general is very influential around the world. But if we don't try things and know like, oh, this is still a part of like, our culture, we'll never really know. And I think it's just more about like being educated about it. And I think that if my great grandmother was still around, she could show me like, oh, this is this recipe and this is this recipe. And I think when those are passed down, we see like the commonality of like a fufu or cornmeal or some porridge that, it's just a matter of like where it is on the world.
Thank you so much. No, that's a great point. And one statement, I would say something that Chris was saying earlier. I think, was it Chris? Yeah, I asked him a question about what the unforeseen challenges, and sometimes what I see, what I wanted to add to that is, and he mentioned relationship, which is very powerful because if you get burned out in one bad relationship, with, let's say, a Latino woman or man, or or African American lady, but it could go any other way. Then you begin to form a perception about that community based off that relationship that you had, that maybe that one bad relationship that you had with a girl or a guy. And I think that if we are aware of this and know that people are people, yeah, the cultures have an impact on the way we do things, but people are people. The good people in both communities, so are the bad ones. And so I think it's just basically getting to know that, getting to be aware of the different cultures and knowing that these cultures influence the way we do things, but it doesn't make us bad people, and it doesn't also make us extremely good people, depending on how you want to see it. It's 11 minutes past 7 p.m. Central Time. We're still talking, we're still having the conversation about the diaspora, and if you want to ring in, please feel free to do so. The number is 815-277-5047. 815-277-5047. If you want to ask a question or add your voice to this conversation, please feel free to do so. Let's see if we can get Vani back into the studio. Vani, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you guys now.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for working hard to get your feedback on. So, Vani, I asked Mark a question. I wanted to pose the same one to you. You said that it was difficult, trying to have a relationship with the African American community. But how is it now? Do you think that it has gotten better, or you're still struggling?
Um,
You're fine. We can see you.
Right now, I'm not. In the beginning, I start trying, but right now, I'm not trying no more. I stopped trying to be in South African American culture and stuff like that. I tried before, but it did not work out the way I wanted it to work out. I just step on the side for now, but I still have some few friends, little bit.
So, what do you think was a challenge for you? Why wasn't it working out?
The challenge for me was, maybe because I'm born in Africa, we have different culture, and when I see them do some stuff, I was like, oh my god, what, what's going on here? What happened?
Like what?
You know what I mean? I know that isn't supposed to be like the way the kid or how to talk to her parent. They were talking to the parent very differently. For me, it was bizarre. It was like, wow, what's going on? What is happening? And
Okay.
then when I try to tell them, oh, it's not like that, you have to talk to your parent, you have to have some respect, they do not like it, stuff like that. And I couldn't take it, stuff like that.
Mm, mm. Uh, Look, I've identified some things, and as an African, I can relate to what she's saying. Now, have I seen all African Americans do that? No. Have I seen some do that? Yes. Have I seen some Africans disrespect their parents? Yes. But this is her reality in the diaspora in Chicago, and this is one of the reasons why we butt heads as Black people, and we look at each other funny. MARVANNA, she made a point. Can you speak to why some African Americans, carry themselves in the manner that she described?
Let's see. I would say, excuse me. I would say it's all about generational welfare. I think that I grew up in a generation, like my parents were very old school. So like my grandmother helped raise me also. So my grandmother grew up in the South, and discipline and respecting your elders was just something that was in the house, or you would get your behind whooped. So I think that even I see this today with some of my students, like there are parents that just lack parenting skills and just things that are allowed, and just upbringing in homes look different. And that's no, pun or shame on parents, but I think that in every generation that bond will look differently. And I also think that, it's important. Oh,
Yeah, we can hear you. You're good.
For some reason I can't see the screen. Okay, there.
We
Okay.
can see you. Yeah.
All right. So in every generation, parenting and family dynamics and traditions look different, but I really think it just goes back to like that individual family and the precedents and the traditions and the rules and the manners and etiquette that they set up. And in different situations with relations, I think that you never can judge a book by its cover, but it is important to just sometimes know what's happening. But is it ever okay to be mean to a parent? Absolutely not. But when you think about and I don't like to use this word just like casually, but like healing and trauma or just hurt and pain, that looks different in different families. I think that healing and some parents, some, not all, but years ago, some populations of Black people in America grew up in a very matriarchal family. So like those things that have effect and vice versa, so the things that have affected Black families at large living in the diaspora in America may be different than other cities. So you might just see the way people process things differently. But again, as I mentioned, disrespecting any elder, never been okay in my book. Will you get angry and frustrated? Absolutely, but there's still a way to do it. And I think that, and I can say this as somebody that grew up here, I do see people that look like me demonstrate like bad behavior, and I distance myself, absolutely. Even as a young adult now, and I just think that sometimes there's people that they won't be taken on to the next journey. They're just gonna be the bad seeds, and that's just it in real.
Thank you so much for sharing, MARVANNA. Arturo, within the Latina community, can you relate to what VANI just shared? And
Sure.
and have you also observed what she's saying she's observed within the African American community?
You know, it's funny. I hear you. I hear you speaking all these things, and I see so many similarities in our own community.
Okay.
You know, there are definitely differences in terms of, like, if you're, for example, if you were born here, if you're Latina, you were born here, versus you're as somebody who's coming in, who's an immigrant, or somebody who is Salvadorian instead of Mexican, and so forth. And so I think it's kind of like you do have these walls that go up, and they're a little bit different and so forth. But you know what I found, and I think this might be pertaining to other cultures too, is that a lot of it is based on lack of knowledge. You know, once you start interacting with, like, Salvadorians, for example, you know, I find out that there's so much in common that we do have, but as long as there's no interaction, we keep up these stereotypes that you were talking about. Well, they're like this, or I had an experience with one person like this, and so forth. And so it happens in our community also. But like I said, I think the best remedy to that is when there are these stereotypes or these walls or whatever, is getting to know one another. What I have noticed, because, you know, I come from a large family. There's 13 brothers and sisters. And so we've all grown up, and 3 of them are married to their Black spouses. And so we've been able to, they come to our family dinners, we go to theirs. And so, and I do see a lot of similarities in our 2 cultures. For example, the importance of food is very important in both communities. How we interact with one another is really, really also very important. And so myself, I see a lot of hope. I think that, yes, I absolutely recognize these differences that you guys are talking about. But I also understand that there's a lot more commonalities that we have with each other, and we just have to look for them.
Yeah.
If we go in that direction, a lot of these things could be remedied.
Yeah. MARVANNA, Mark, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. If you'd like to respond to anything that's been said, I'll go with, I'll take MARVANNA's comment, and then you can come in, okay?
Okay.
Mark, okay.
No, I was just going to add, and I also think that Black women in general can play an even stronger role with us, you know, making some of these bonds met. I think that sometimes, like you were mentioning, Vani, earlier, that you felt some resistance with connecting with Black people in America. And I think that, you know, sometimes Black women, no matter where we are, there's this weight on our shoulders that we just want to let go of. And I think that if we were just to get in a room and just not have to worry about existing, I mean, there would be so much we can talk about. We can just laugh. We can talk about our hair and things that we're doing, and just supporting each other. I think that nurturing energy, sometimes we don't get it in the workplace because it may just be a few of us and just us. We have to work a little harder to create those spaces so that, you know, we can feel that, because it's there. It is there. Black women are, we're out here loving ourselves, making moves. And we got to remember that, you know, the power that we can give each other. Because I know, you know, if you think about, you know, how Black women are so revered and respected in many places, and then on the flip side, some of the things that we experience, if we remember those things that, you know, can bring us together, I think that will also help us. And I think it's a lot, you know, we could learn too.
Yeah, powerfully said. Mark, today is it.
Okay, I'm here. So I mean, I like what everybody is saying. But also my side that I want to say is African American and the Black community, which is, you know, Africans, we could really come together and kind of grow, you know, in a good way. So I usually say that we are very powerful together. you know, which a lot of people don't see. You know, we are very powerful. You know, we could bring ideas together. You know, it's not all about just crime or, you know, maybe you know, insulting someone or like those sort of things. You know, there's more that we could do. You know, we have strong leaders within our midst, and they are intelligent people that could help the community to get better. You know, and that's what I think we should focus on together as whole Black community, and instead of just not looking at that and just looking at someone else, or maybe differentiating each other as, you know, as to, oh, you from here, you from there, I don't like you, you know, I like you better, or maybe food is different, so, you know, I don't like the way you talk to me. We should just find a way to have some similarity together. You know, at the end, most of the African Americans are highly influenced from Africa, you know, where we came through from slavery. So we do have similarities, and also we do have differences, you know. But if we all come together as one, I feel like it's gonna be a good world.
No, thank you so much for sharing, Vani and Mark, and Arturo too. I may probably have to ask you: do you get the notion in our communities that somehow we feel that we're better than the African Americans based off, again, what we see on TV and what we hear about the community? Vani, do you get that feeling within the Africans sometimes, that some Africans, you know, have that feeling that, you know, we culturally we're better than them? Do we talk about? Do you think that's a real thing in our communities?
For me, as my personal opinion, I feel like the perfect thing, everybody is equal.
Okay.
But when we see, like, in general, like the way they educate us and stuff like that, sorry, I must say, sometimes we feel like we are different.
Okay. Yeah. And that difference can translate into better, like, right? Like, you know, we do things better.
We do things better and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when at the same time, when we look people back home, I see the equality, because I see like there's a lot of equality. The same thing, like different country all have its own different stuff to do. But every single time, like our parents always make us in our head that you need to know that you are better than Black American. But they forget that in the society, we're gonna do a lot of things with them. We're gonna have a lot of society with them and stuff, do a lot of environment with them. But our parents put in our head that, oh no, Black American are different from us, we are better than them. We're going to school, we're doing it. They forget that that's the same thing. They forget that there's some circumstance make them be different than them.
Right. No, you're powerful. Arturo, do you get that sense in your community as well, the Latino community?
Yes, I do. I think that, you know, like I said, when you talk about there's a spectrum of how people think and how people react. So yeah, you do have some people like coming from Mexico who say, well, the Chicanos or the Mexican Americans aren't really Mexicans because they don't speak Spanish, or they don't cook the same as we do, or they've lost their roots. That's one of the things that they always mention is like, you're forgetting your roots. You think you're American now. You know, and kind of distance themselves from that. So that is definitely some people do have those kind of arguments. The opposite is also true. A lot of people that are born here are 2, 3, 4, 5 generations that have been born here from Mexican descent, also look down on the immigrants, for example, for not being as American as they are, or for being kind of like maybe not have as good an education and so forth. So there's these little tensions that exist among some people, but like I say, it's not everybody shares these kind of things. It varies, but because you also have, especially like a younger generation Chicanos who have an admiration for everything, for their roots, reconnecting back to their roots and so forth, and so they see something as something that's very important in their lives.
Thank you so much, guys. MARVANNA, is there a thing within the African American community speaking to the reverse of what VANI just shared?
The reverse meaning,
I mean the opposite way. I mean, we're feeling better because our parents or the older generation think of that because of the information that they get. It is what it is. Do your community feel the same way about us?
I would say no. In my experience, I've never seen that. I mean, I definitely have had different conversations and listened in on conversations where, there just might be this like gray area of a void of like just the separation. But I think that if anything, historically, if we think back to, let's just say colonialism. We don't even have to say slavery, but I think when we think about the history of like white supremacy and tools that were instilled into the world, no matter like what race minority group you are, I think teaching fear and envy and separation, that could break up any group of people. And I think that there are still things that we have to work on, not to put each other down, not to separate. And I think those evils and turmoils get passed down if we don't eliminate it. And I think in older generations of Black people, especially, they had to, like my grandmother's, generation and my mom's generation. My mom will tell me stories about like how, her sisters, because they were a lighter skin complexion, would treat her differently, or like an aunt down in like the South, like Alabama or Mississippi, would have these like horrid like Jim Crow experiences, so that when she would visit, her experience would be different, so that she would just feel like, whoa, like why do we have to experience this? So I think that if we break these things down and not pass them down in generation, we won't have like our kids like saying, oh, I don't like you because of this, or like we can't do this. And kids don't have a conceptualization of like, oh, I'm okay, I look better because my skin is this. So I think if we work together to eliminate like envy and trust in each other more, we won't feel like we got to play the who's better, because I think we all have that power. And when we don't see it, that's when the enemy gets ahead and we don't get ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. Wow, you guys made solid points, and I really appreciate it. I wanted to put it in perspective too, and look at it this way. So I was looking at the news the other day in Ghana, and I'm learning that some of the youth, some of the very young ones, have started rebelling against their parents and breaking some of the norms and traditions and the stuff in the way we were used to respecting elders and parents growing up. Why? Because the government of Ghana introduced free SHS. Free SHS is free high school education, which wasn't the case before. So what it is now is that a lot of kids can go to school for free. But before then, you would have to literally pay your way out from kindergarten, from nursery all the way up to university. But right now, high school is free, at least. And we're hearing the repercussions of that. Kids are going to school for free. So when they come home and their parents will have them would like, hey, you can't go out and come back at 7 p.m. They're rebelling because guess what? You're no longer paying my school fees. So I can do what I want to do now. What's that saying to me? To the point Vani made, that yes, you can identify and see folks disrespecting their parents here in the African American community. What I'm saying is that if the tables were turned, if Africa, or maybe where we're coming from, had conditions and environments that induces some of these things that we call negative and bad back in Africa, who knows how negatively it would have affected us. Because, and I gave this example for a reason, this is real time now. Now, I'm not saying all the youth in Africa, in Ghana, are like that, but we're hearing things that when we were growing up did not exist. You couldn't even think of, because guess what? As women, most women will rely on their husbands to go get the bread and come home. Then they'll prepare the food. I mean, a lot of women were not working back then. Now they are. There aren't too many economic opportunities. So that means that everybody has to, like, if you're a child, if up until the age of 25, even 30 sometimes, you have to stay with your parents. So you have to abide by the rules because they're feeding you, they're clothing you, and all of that, right? So it cannot enhance or induce a certain culture, a certain way of life where you have to obey your parents or you get kicked out. But it's different in the United States. At 16, 17, 18, you're earning your own money and you can move out. So now the idea of respect becomes relative. You know, you are not forced to obey and be respectful to your parents due to economic pressure and conditions. It becomes a choice now, and an issue of relevance and moral, right? And so and so I think these are some of the things that we have to maybe pay attention to. If we had access to guns, and just like it is in the United States, in Africa, and looking at the conditions and some of the things that we go through in Africa, can you imagine what the youth would be doing or could have been doing with all these guns, this easy accessibility to guns? Again, currently, if you live in Ghana, we know the issues that are going on in Ghana currently when it comes to the youth, guns, and violence, right? So all I'm saying is that even as we realize and identify the differences, in the diaspora among the different Black communities, the negative images and news that we hear and see should not give us the impetus or should not form our judgment of the entire community, because the societies are different, the cultures are different, and we all have different, our history is the same, but we had to go different directions based off how we have evolved and based on what has happened to us as Black people. And so when we find ourselves in the diaspora, I think that even though our cultures have been separated and have become different things, even though with the same roots, we ought to look at each other and identify these problems and look at them with different lenses. Look at them objectively and not just generalize, because whatever is going on in that community could be taking place in a different form in our own community if we look at it critically. So that's all I wanted to add to what you said, Vanna. But go ahead, Marvanna.
I just wanted to add to what you were saying, and thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned, you were asking the question of like who feels who's better. I was just gonna say, through the lens of like, let's say, violence and police brutality, I have seen, I've seen in the past, I've met African immigrants here who don't think that police brutality like applies to them. You'll see Black people getting killed, and maybe sometimes they might be more fortunate just to like maybe live in the suburbs or just kind of stay in whichever communities they are. But I think that now I'm hoping that all Black people just kind of understand that, like, no matter where you are as a Black person, like, there are unsafe places you can go. It's not just like the South Side, with a lot of things that have been happening in the world. And I would love to see more of a cohesion with us just like speaking up and making sure our communities are safe. I think we can do that. And I don't think you need to rally or protest just to stand up for those things. I think I would love to see African people here help with those things, because the movements are not just about like history. The movement is now. Mm-hmm. And what you were mentioning about young people in Ghana, speaking up and retaliating against their parents. I think a lot of younger people in their 20s and teens, especially like if you've seen things that have happened this past year, there are a lot of people that are just fed up with things, with poverty, with the issues that are going on. So they don't have a fear of dying. They don't have a fear of getting in trouble. And I'm not saying that they should shoot. I'm not saying that they should just go do something without thinking about it or being organized. But there is a power and a desire to have equality that I think, you know, our parents and our ancestors, they want us to remember those things. So I think that we can learn something when these big things happen in our world and sadness is happening, people are fighting. It's the young people that they know how to use technology. They use social media different, and you know, we can learn about how to be organized better a lot from different generations of people that are just fighting to put, you know, bread on the table, or fighting for better jobs, or just upset with, you know, some things in our system. But, you know, what you mentioned earlier just made me think of those things. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing as well. Mark, do you have any comment? Mark and Vani, I know you haven't spoken in a while. Vani, can you still hear us?
Oh, yes, I can still hear you guys.
Okay, do you have any comments, Vani?
I have a comment about police brutality thing.
Okay, Mark, we'll come to you after her.
Okay.
The way she say about police brutality, me too, I hear some African always say that, oh, that's not they don't have to be in the part of protesting because they don't talk to police badly. But they're forgetting when you have the same blood and event, it's all can happen. It can happen to any black. It doesn't matter if you are from Africa, if you are from here, doesn't matter. But the problem is, I understand too why African people say that, because when African people, they always have interaction with police, they always try to, the police already, a white police already know that this person is not from here, because the way the person talk, first of all, because in Africa they show us how to talk to the police, how to be calm with the police, how we are scared of police. They don't show, they did not, I don't know if they treat the same way to African America here, because I see some African America, the way they talk to the police, even though a policeman was calm, he can't take it. Is even it was you, but sometimes when somebody talk to you very rudely, sometimes you cannot take it. Sometimes I understand the point of the police, but sometimes I really don't like it, because I understand why we need to protest about it, because it's been happening for a long time. It's been hiding, and I think Africa need to join Black American together to fight this matter. No matter how they feel like, oh, they're not supposed to be part of it. They're supposed to be part of it because it can happen to anybody here in this country.
Great point. Thank you so much, Vani. That's a very powerful point. Wow. Mark, do you have any? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So
before you continue, the phone line is open. It has been open 815-277-5047. Someone just called my personal line. It's 815-277-5047. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I'll add a little bit of what VANI said. VANI said one thing that I would say I like about the African Americans that I think I have developed over time is outspoken. I think that's something that most of the African community are lacking. With outspoken, they are able to express themselves regardless of certain situation. You know, so with that, it makes them, it makes them not to fear a lot of things around them. As she was also saying, based on what they have gone through in history, and they don't care about even dying. But in a certain way, that outspoken is good. Is good in a way of what coming together. You know, because if you have that that type of knowledge, or that type of conversation with outspoken, there's a lot of things that we could overcome. Whilst in Africa, I feel like there's too much of respect that sometimes we fear to say a lot. And sometimes fearing to say a lot could put us in a situation where we'll be in trouble. You know, there's a lot going on that Africans need to speak up a lot, you know, in the continent concerning the government or whatever and the stuff that are going on in order for them to build the community and the country. But people are fearful to say a lot due to them risking their life, not taking enough risks. But with the African American being more outspoken, I feel like that part is a good thing. If we are to come together, we could use more about that side in order for us to stand up and be counted.
Yeah, see how powerful that is?
That's what I'll add to it.
No, thank you. That's very powerful, Mark. No wonder the internet was trying to block you away from sharing this powerful points, because this is very much needed, the point you just made. Yeah, because but if we are not communicating, if we stay away from each other, we're not going to find these out. We're not going to know all of this, you know, different ways that we are connected, you know. And so look, the conversation shouldn't be only on this platform. Of course it's not, and I know people have it, but we just want to encourage more of it, you know, on all kinds of media platforms. You know, let's keep it going, because this is the only way we can understand each other very well. And, you know, VANI made a very important point regarding how we relate to the police back home and when we come here. So we bring that same culture, right? But if you look at the African American history, their relationship with the police, if you look back, it's nothing close to what we've had with our police, right? We have not had to riot in Africa and had dogs chase after us, hot water hoses, you know, poured on us, literally have, you know, police beating us up. All my life, growing up in Ghana, I only saw one time. Even that, I've never seen the police beat up anybody. I have never seen a police, talk less of shooting. No, they hardly even carry guns. I've never seen the police heckle anybody. If anything, it's the people that will heckle or try to brutalize, you know, armed robbers. So if you were a thief, or if you're a bad guy, if you were a robber and you try to rob somebody and the community catch you, there's instant justice. Okay, the community, they'll lynch you. They probably might lynch you before the police get there. So the one that gets to save you is the policeman. Actually, if the police arrives on the scene, then you have a 50% chance of leaving, because he's going to break out the crowd regardless of your crime. You could have just killed somebody. The police will handle you gently. They are actually the ones that will handle you very gently and take you into custody, right? And so I think that, but it's not the same for the African American community. You know, the way they have had to deal with police in the past in this country is different, and so their reaction to the police, you know, when they are stopped wherever it is in any situation, will be different. Again, if you have an understanding, or if you try to get an understanding of their history, it makes sense the way they react. Of course, nobody is saying bad things should happen, but it's basically us understanding why we act and react to things the way we do as fellow Blacks in the diaspora. Arturo, we lost you too.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Now, the way things are happening, I'm beginning to suspect that the problem might be from our system and not from you guys.
Okay, maybe.
because everybody is dropping, you know, and this has never happened. Look, see, everybody. I don't know. I've never had this, so I may have to, you know, do some troubleshooting here.
Yeah, all of a sudden it just went blank, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. But here I am.
Oh my God, you know, and Mark just dropped out too. So MARVANNA, we were just sharing. I don't know, you dropped out, but you wanted to comment on what VANI or Mark, or any comment that you wanted to add before we move to the next thing
about the policing.
I mean, anything else? Yeah, policing too.
Oh, no, I think, you know, you what you were saying about you never seeing that happen, you know, in Africa, and I think that's great. Thank you for sharing. And you know,
Ghana, yeah, in Ghana growing up.
what I've experienced in just the perceptions of like violence and stereotypes and different, you know, melanated cultures, the what you see in movies or just the news, they only show, you know, the sadness or like this is what's happening. But you know, if you actually seek to kind of know what's going on or visiting or just having people that you know that'll tell you what's real, your perception, you'll know other things. So I think it's important for us to just do what we can. And if you think about, like you mentioned, in the history of the police in white America, there's never been like great, you know, stories. I think that there are good police officers out here, but I think that the whole defund prison and defund the police, that movement, that initiative is going to be around for a long time, because there's been just a lot of corruption that a lot of people have just suffered from over the years. And you know, what now that we live in a world where, you know, we can fight back and we could, you know, choose like not to go somewhere and also to record or write up reports, I think it's challenged on a lot of things, even though there's still a lot of work to do. Now it is not hidden. There's a lot of things that are still hidden, but when you're seeing people get hurt in broad daylight and killed, it speaks a lot to like what is being tolerated and what are you proud of, you know, to call yourself an American in that society, because, you know, we have our, you know, society and culture.
Yeah. Thank you so much again, guys. This is the Progressive Mind Show. We want to thank our audience for being extra patient with us today. We've had some challenges. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're talking to our great guest, esteemed guest this evening, to help us get to be about 10 minutes into the show. So we shall be right back after this break.
Welcome. Chris Toffee Financial Company is ready and available either group or one-on-one basis to help you understand different investment opportunities in America that you can invest in with any amount. The right college account for your children to withdraw money. We can help you to get appropriate life insurance that you can withdraw money or take loan. And if you're in the process of buying or refinancing a vehicle or a house, we can help by building up your credit score. We also repair credit by permanently removing negative items such as medical bills, collections, late payments, foreclosure, bankruptcy, inquiries. We also help all businesses to get business loans and credit by building their business credit. If you need any of our services, please feel free to contact us at 512-999-6724 or chris@christoffee.com or visit www.christoffee.com. Thank you.
We are talking to VANI, HONA, originally from Cameroon, lives in Chicago. ARTURO is all the way in California. MARVANNA is also here. MARVANNA is also here in Chicago. And then we have Mark all the way in the Washington, D.C. area. We have a caller on the line. I know the phone lines have been challenging, but caller, can you tell us why you're calling this evening?
I was calling regarding a lot of the responses that appear to go towards Africa, and like everything is okay in Africa and everything is bad in America. The statement you made regarding Ghana policing is simply false.
Mm-hmm.
And for, what's her name? VANI, for her to stereotype, I don't know how many people she know, African American, and to say they disrespect their parents, that's just a stereotypical statement for her to make. And this whole show needs to have even truer people versus, you know, I guess foreigners or people from other countries, because this is so one-sided.
Okay.
You know, one lady that's speaking up, and Arturo, he's about the most even across the field. this needs to have a fourth conversation.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm so heated that I can't even hardly speak.
Okay.
Ghanaian police are said, you can read the article, it's called The Conversation.
Okay.
Corrupt, violent against the civilians. And for you to say you never even saw him beat someone up, false.
Okay, let me try and clarify that. I said I said growing up in Africa, and I said Ghana, I never saw a policeman beat up, and that's my story. Okay, and wait, can I clarify? Let me land.
No, but you need to speak on the current time. We're talking about in the current.
No, okay, wait. I said growing up in Africa. I live in the United States now. I'm like 13, maybe more in the United States now. But I'm saying that's why I said growing up there, right? Now I have
never expanded on, but the way that the police are policing now is totally different from when I was there. Because now they are the same across the board, across the country. It's like if it's in Mexico, if it's in Scandinavia, anywhere.
Yeah,
police are brutal. Not just in America, and not just against African Americans. So for her for VANI to appear to say she doesn't relate over in her country about police brutality, but we should Africans to stick with African Americans because the police brutality is outrageous.
No, so okay, so no, thank you for sharing. Again, the point that I was trying to make earlier is that again, when I was growing up, I didn't see that. Okay, now I didn't see that, and so I can understand why. If I haven't had that type of situation with police people in Ghana, when I come here, my relationship with police will be different. Now, somebody who's had a different relationship with police here, growing up in America, right? It would influence their relationship with the police today. We're talking about what has happened and how it is affecting our way of life today. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But you went on to elaborate, or she did, to say, in other words, we didn't have a violent relationship with police in our country, so therefore we don't feel like we should have to have that. We're not experiencing it because we never experienced there. So when we come here, we don't experience that. But we need to ride together with African Americans to help them with that situation. When we know that's false. Every African country, their policing is brutal.
Have you lived in Africa?
I've been to Africa, and not only that, I research.
Okay.
And I just go look at the conversation about Ghana. If
So
we're going to speak of the past, speak of the present. So this is what this show is about.
So how are you able to tell the story in Ghana if you've only read about it and you haven't lived there for 20, 30 years?
Because I'm listening to you speak, and you're not being honest in your conversation.
Okay.
You have 4 people on the panel right now that are from other countries. Then you have one African American. For her to say out of her mouth that Africans should help, instead of her saying Africans can relate. That's more the reason why they should help. Because now we've come to America, where the police are also treating Black people bad, versus where we come from, where they were treating us bad as civilians. So don't make it seem as if we don't relate over in our country a bad police.
Yeah.
But now that we're in America, we're going to stand with them because they shouldn't do them that way. Stop that.
No,
that's not an honest conversation.
No, okay. So I can tell you that my growing up in Ghana, because I never saw it, but we know that the history will repeat itself. No, but
Ghanaian police ain't just got like that. African police have been the most notorious. They rule by their own thumb. They rule by their own thumb.
Okay.
You can't dispute that. And as far as us coming together, you have to have an open mind first.
Okay.
To have a productive conversation. Okay. And some people on the panel, won't call out no names, have no open mind.
Okay.
They have their mind made up. And yes,
this is why
absolutely.
This is why we have the
country that they migrate to. African Americans. We built this country.
So this is why we have this conversation, right?
Absolutely. So we're going to be honest in doing so.
Well, so your honesty, your truth, right? What you're saying is your truth. Somebody may disagree with you, but it's fine.
They could disagree, but don't make it one-sided. The only person that has made it even across the board is ARTURO.
Okay.
The only person, and let's be clear, we have a culture here, African American culture, and what nobody seems to have mentioned, hip hop culture, that's African American culture.
Yeah, but
nobody mentioned that. No, but I'm saying you need to put the
MARVANNA mentioned that.
No, she
MARVANNA,
mentioned music. She never mentioned hip hop culture. No, she did not.
MARVANNA, you want to speak for yourself?
Sister, I hear you. I did say black music when he asked me in the beginning what is a part of black culture, and I said our music. That was one of the things.
Okay, so she said it.
African Americans have a culture, from hairstyles, from language, from clothing.
Yeah,
from,
we said all of that. We said all of that. Chris was
one
here.
One person said we don't have a culture here.
No. Chris was on earlier, and he mentioned how African American have a culture.
I said one person on your panel said we don't have a culture here. One person on your panel said African Americans talk back to their parents. I'm a full-grown adult. I've never cursed my parents. I don't curse in front of elders, whether it be black, white, orange, or brown. So you cannot stereotype her. She has a perception that didn't go well for her. That she should hold in a private conversation, because I'm pretty sure she didn't have many African American friends. So you could tell she don't want many.
No, you can't make that judgment, because
she can't make that judgment either.
No, she didn't make a judgment. She's saying she's saying this is her observation. But then
she said she don't have African American friends because of the way they talk back to their parents.
No, she said some.
She said when she talked to them, then they didn't agree with her and got mad. She stopped being their friend. So now she's sitting to the side.
Yeah, okay.
Ma'am, I have some African American.
Okay.
I just say that in the beginning I couldn't get
now because they didn't agree with her trying to correct them.
No, she wants to respond.
See, ma'am, I see in the beginning when I came here I was 18 years old. I wanted to
No, she said that. Can you please have her respond, please? Okay.
Ma'am, I say this. When I came here, I wanted to be close with African American.
Yes.
In the beginning, I was 18 years old. African American
before you get to the present, you must be coming from a past.
Their parent. But I still have some friends that are African American that will go along so well together. I say some. Maybe you don't listen to the conversation of people. You can't just judge them like that.
You said you still have some friends prior to that, but you also said that right now I'm done. I'm standing to the wayside. I'm not trying to. No, but it does matter.
But it's okay.
That's why you don't have African American friends, and that's why a lot of African American women cannot identify with African women because of that notion. You think you're better than.
No.
And like I said, and will continue to say, if you feel that way, why not go back? Where you feel better at.
Okay, so Kathy, we're trying to have a decorum, right?
You guys are having a false conversation.
Well, you cannot determine that. No, you can't determine that. You can't.
You're not being truthful. She's not being
truthful.
No,
that's a false. That's a lie. That's a complete lie.
It's Arturo.
No, I think what you're saying is trying to put words in people's mouth, and I'm not going to allow that. No, you have
not true.
No,
that's simply not true.
You have not been. You have not been honest. You have not been honest.
This whole thing, Arturo has been the only one that's been honest.
Okay,
He's the only one that's saying all walks of life have retaliation with their parents, not just African American. She didn't include that. She just spoke on African Americans.
Okay,
you
so
spoke
people
on some kids in Ghana.
Okay, that's okay. Good.
Just the generation.
All right, so we appreciate your comments. We appreciate your contribution, and she hangs up. So the fact that she said that everybody has been biased is not true. It's not accurate. What we have been trying to do on this platform is to find out, bring to the limelight, some of these perceptions that we have within our communities against each other. We touch on every other community, and we refer to the Latino community, our Caribbean community, when Chris was here earlier. So hopefully she can maybe watch the show from the beginning, because everything she's saying is contrary to some of the things that we've been trying to discuss so far on the show. But yeah, Arturo, MARVANNA, VANI, yes, this one was heated. So what's your reaction? But we do appreciate her contribution. We thank her for calling in and bringing this. It helped. The only thing, my only takeaway is that you can't literally tell people what they should believe about their story. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody's story is unique to them, so you can't. But anyway, go ahead, MARVANNA.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, we have to have more conversation. I think the passion and her feelings. I think that there are a lot of people that want to delve in and just put the screws here and there, and she should go back and listen to the show. But I think she cares.
Yeah,
and that's important.
Yeah, that's true. You can feel the passion, and we appreciate the care. Very, very important. Arturo, we come to the end of the show. Unfortunately, it's 8 p.m. It's 2 minutes past 8. So your reaction quickly, and then VANI too, and then we can try to wrap up.
Okay, my reaction is that there are so many similarities in our communities, and I think that the immigrant community's experience is different from those that were born here. The issue of police brutality from somebody who's lived it from ever since they were brought in here, like myself, is very different from somebody who's just came in recently. And so I think if we understand this, once again, communicate with each other, interact with one another, get to know, party with each other, and so forth, I think this is a step in the right direction.
I like the last piece, party with each other. Let's party some more. VANI.
Yes.
Yes, your reaction to the caller's remarks.
My reaction, I understand her. She's very passionate. She wants change. I understand her point of view, but the point is she should a little bit calm down. And listen to the conversation before just go.
I know, it's okay. So baby is in your bag. If you want to be part of the show, it's fine. Go ahead. We can still hear you.
Sorry.
That's fine. It's okay. Go ahead. We can hear you.
For me, like Arturo said, I feel like we're supposed to be African American and African need to be together to understand each other, because I feel like we have a lot of commenting and we have a lot of disagreeing. We need to talk about it, and so we can be in the same page. If we don't talk about it, we're never going to be in the same page. We always have a difference. We're always going to fight for every single thing, and when we're not supposed even to fight, like the thing about police brutality that I say, we have so everything differently. For me, when I'm back home, I even see police one time in my life. And when I came here, the first time the police arrest me, I was like shaking. That's why I feel like there's a lot of things that's very different from people that born here. We need to, like I say, we just need to get together and to talk about it, to tackle it, what's going on here and what can we do. Right. That's it.
What we can do is more party. Let's
No, not about party, because I feel like we have more than party to do. And African, us black always think about party. We don't think about something important.
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think?
Party
exactly. Tell us exactly what you think we should be doing as
For me, I think there's a lot of things we can do to grow up, and because I know that they've been insulting us, telling us black people are not intelligent, black people are not this, but we are more intelligent.
Black, Africans or
both. I'm thinking about both. I'm not thinking about only African. I'm thinking about both. Black American and African. They always think that we are not intelligent.
Wait, hold on, VANI. You said black African Americans, and who thinks that who is
no? I'm saying that African and black American. The white people always think that we are dumb.
You were saying other people think that we are dumb. Okay.
Yeah, we are dumb because it's even about, look at how some white folk come to our country, do all those shit, and it's the same thing happening here. Okay. And I think we need to come together to fight that. Okay. To come together and build something strong.
Okay. So maybe
we can develop our own mindset, our children that are unborn,
right?
So they can be proud of, because sometimes us Black people, we always say that, oh, we can't do it. We are scared of doing it because our parents do not show us how to be standing up for our own self. They always get scared to stand up for themselves. They say, oh no, we cannot do this because it's only white people that can do this. It's only all these people that can do that. No, I think that we have to stop putting our mind down. For me, that's what I think. We need to stop putting our mind down.
But what you're
We
saying
need
is
to work
true.
out together.
Yeah, what you're saying is true. I mean, the mentality of the generations before us, the way they think about other races compared to black people is, if you grow up in Africa, it's deep. It's deep. So I relate, Vani. I feel you. I hear what you're saying. Well, we have a few comments here. Let's try and read it out. Bridge says, by the fact Americans and Africans go against each other, we both look dumb. Okay.
Oh yes. That's true, though.
Yeah, we shouldn't be going
against. We need to stop that.
I think Africans think Black Americans are dumb. I think we touched this earlier, Bray. There are some notion, some Africans may, will look at it that way, but it doesn't mean it's true. It's based off the information that they've gotten. Like Vani is saying, if you grew up in a household where your parents are telling you that this is how these people are, this is what it is, as a child, you grow up with that type of information. And if you watch the news and you are not seeing any better, you grow up as an African immigrant here in America, and you have this notion against fellow Blacks, right? And so you have to educate yourself. You have to engage in programs and activities to unlearn that, so you can have a better relationship with your fellow Blacks. And I think these are the things that we are trying to work on as a people. MARVANNA.
No, and I was just gonna say, I think that Black parents can be better, especially here in America, about not passing down generational curses. I think every family has that. For example, I see kids and adults still oh well, I don't want to be this skin color, and all that, like colorism didn't come from us. I think that when in communities and in different generations, when you see something or you were taught it or you experience that, it get passed, especially if you're experiencing it when your livelihood, or if it might cause, get you in some harm if you don't look a certain way. And then, you have the, I think a lot of minority groups kind of lose track of their mission when there's so many white images or white spaces that might equate in their mind success, or that's what's promoted in the dominant society. But we have to remember that there's nowhere in this world that doesn't have influence from the things that we create. And while a lot of people love our culture, they don't want to support or be along the lines with us. So I think we have to remember those things.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. We have to end the show. And look, I think that the whole experience, from technical issues to the convos, it works well, as it all adds up. I think that as a people and as a community, we will face challenges, but it will take us to find solutions or find amicable ways of navigating through these challenges. And I hope that we've been able to attempt, in doing so, all right, this evening. So to our audience, Bray, I think that I read your comment. We also had a few that were here earlier. Mausi says, awesome conversation. Thank you. Rebecca says that a big shout out to you guys. And we lost a few that I couldn't read earlier. So we want to bring the convo, the part 3 convo regarding the Afro diaspora to an end this evening. And I would like to give my audience, even though I will give you the last words, and I want to start with Vani. And I know you spoke already on your remark regarding the callers. I mean, you responded to the callers' remarks, but I want you to close us. Your closing words for today. We will attempt on doing this again. This is an ongoing conversation, so we are not there yet. Okay, so we'll practice until we get perfect.
What do you say? I do not understand your question.
Please give us your last remarks, your last words for this evening. And I know you own a business too, so please feel free to plug in your information.
For me, I feel like we need to support each other. That's my only thing, I think. Okay. And we need to stop having. Let me finish this. We need to stop having that fear, because we have a fear that we can't support each other. We have this. We have the big fear that we don't want to get out from that. I don't know. From that cookies, from that thing. Everybody want to stay in their own spot. They're always scared. Oh, I don't want to have. And I understand that, because everybody want to be on their line. They want to mind their business. They're scared that something might happen to them. But no, if you really need something badly, you have to go for it. And us Black people, we need to come together and fight for what we want.
Beautiful, beautiful. What's the name of your business?
I have a cleaning business called Magic Cleaning, and I have a clothing business too called VANI Magic Style. Okay, so people can find you on social media? Yes, people can find me on social media. For my cleaning business, you can contact me with my phone number, 773-964-8502. For the clothing business, you can find me on Instagram. Okay.
Is it African clothing or Western clothing or mixed?
It's Western clothing. Okay. I don't do really African clothing. I do mostly Western clothing, because I want to. For me, African clothing is already too much. I need to. At least I know that I love African clothing. I wear that all the time. Yeah. But if you want to be in business,
it's your way of integrating the culture.
What people more like to buy more.
Okay.
To bring more money to your pockets.
Okay. Now let me give you the opportunity to say something in French to the Francophone community about what we just had on the show today. Just say a few words to your Francophone community.
Pour moi, j'aimerais que franchement nous les Africains et les Noirs américains, on s'organise ensemble pour bagarrer contre tout ce qui se passe ici, surtout dans la diaspora africaine, noire ici. On doit vraiment se battre, être réunis. C'est ce que je peux dire.
All right. The last one is what I didn't get anything, but thank you so much for sharing. Arturo, your last remarks, and you want to say a few words in Latino to your community too. I mean Spanish to the Latino community. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to say that these conversations are really important, and what I've noticed that a lot of the things that we are critical about our own communities, we have to understand where they come from. They don't come from a vacuum. This whole about colorism or differences, divisions, and so forth. We need to understand the role of cultural imperialism and how it's affected our communities. So once again, I think go back. Let's learn about our history. Let's learn about each other. And I think let's forge this unity between the Black and the Latino communities here in the United States, because we have so many issues that we have in common, from affordable health care, lack of educational opportunities, and so forth. So I'll say it in Spanish. Este programa es muy importante porque nos trae las comunidades juntos, y si vamos a avanzar, necesitamos trabajar unidos.
Thank you so much. That was smooth. Mark, I know we missed you for for a chunk of the program, but go ahead and give us your closing remarks, please.
All right, cool. So I feel like African American need to do a lot of organization in a way that organization are only done in the colleges. They should do more outside of the colleges, where it could unite African Americans and Africans together. For us to build a better community, right, and a better relationship. So it will be a better thing to do. I think that's what I would say.
You think that African Americans should do more organizing, or are you saying they have to do it? or are you saying all of us have to do it? What? And if you say they have to do it, I know the show has ended, but okay, go ahead, Vani, MARVANNA. Yeah, your closing remarks.
Okay. I just think that Black people, brown people, we just have to be more intentional about our relationships. We have to have more personal relationships and, lose the fear. We only have this one life, and things are only going to repeat themselves if we don't put the work in, and we can't be afraid. Will there be people that we have to leave behind? Absolutely. But God has given us everything that we already have. There's so much talent and resources and just great things amongst us. Why give them away? Why just keep them in our pockets or just in our small communities when there's people that we can help? Even just being on this show today, like, I know that, like, hey, I would ask for help, or like I would want to break bread because we're expanding. So I think that's so important. And we don't have to be the ones holding each other back, because there are people amongst our communities that want to have these conversations, that want to feel like, hey, I have another family that I connect with. Because it's going to help us in the long term and our children.
Thank you so much. Powerfully said. Mark, I know I was asking, is there African Americans that need to do the organizing of bringing us together, or the Africans have to do that more, or are you saying all of us have to do it? What exactly is it?
Well, all of us have to partake it for us to bring it up together.
Okay. All right. Now I wanted to clarify that because I know your line
connection is very low. I'm sorry.
I know for an IT person's connection to be like this, you know that this is a bigger problem than all of us. But no, that is just by the way. And I really want to thank VANI, HONA, Arturo, as always, my brother. Thank you so much for helping making this show more impactful. Your contribution is very valuable to us. We really appreciate your contribution and your time. MARVANNA, you've been excellent, brilliant. It's first time. I didn't know what to expect, but you brought it home, man. And I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. VANI, I appreciate your contribution. You made our community and the platform a bit better. We've had a conversation, and I think that you will continue from in your various homes. My brother Mark APAH, you and I will talk offline. What's happening to the internet? What's happening to the lines today? Being an IT person. Well, to our audience who joined us since from 6 p.m. to now 2 hours. Yeah, 2.5 hours. Wow. Would you believe that? Really want to appreciate your time. It's been very fruitful. This is the Progressive Mind Show. I'm your host, Alinko. Remember, to whom much is given, much is required. We shall be here this Sunday, 4 p.m. to talk about preserving the oldest tribe in Africa, from being extinct. We shall be talking to a group of people who are trying to preserve that tribe. It's in Tanzania. You should watch and follow. You should follow us. Again, it's going to be 4 p.m. this Sunday, 4 p.m. CST, 4 p.m. Central this Sunday. All right, guys, please have a wonderful evening. Get some rest, get some tea, and don't remember anything we said tonight. Just get some rest.
Bye.
All right, guys, we shall be in touch. And I know MARVANNA, VANI is in Chicago, so I'll connect you guys. Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.